there's something strange happening right now. And if you're watching this, it's not random. You didn't just click this video out of boredom. You felt something, a pull, a quiet nudge, almost like something wanted you to be here, because deep down, you already know something is changing. Let me ask you something. Have you recently felt like you're outgrowing people around you? Conversations feel shallow, almost meaningless. You're becoming more aware, but also more alone, like you're seeing things others can't see, feeling things others don't feel, understanding things you can't even explain. That's not confusion. That's not anxiety. That's awakening. And here's the truth. Most people are not ready to hear. Chosen ones don't get warnings. They get shifts, silent ones, unexpected ones. Life doesn't send you a notification saying, hey, something big is about to happen. No, it just happens. And lately, those shifts have been happening faster than ever. You may have noticed sudden changes in your mindset, losing interest in things you once loved, feeling disconnected from your old identity, random emotional waves with no clear reason. You might even feel like you're losing control, but in reality, you're stepping into control, because what's approaching you right now is not chaos, it's alignment. But here's the part that most people don't understand. When something powerful is about to enter your life, it doesn't knock loudly, it moves silently. Think about it. The biggest changes in your life, did they come with warnings, or did they just happen? The moment you met someone who changed your life, the moment everything fell apart, the moment everything suddenly made sense, none of those came with a warning. And this, what's coming now, is even bigger. You see, there are moments in life where everything starts shifting beneath your feet, but on the surface, everything looks normal. That's where most people get confused. They think nothing is happening, but you feel it. That's the difference between you and them. Chosen ones don't rely on what they see. They rely on what they feel. And right now, if you're being honest with yourself, you feel something. It's subtle, but it's there. A tension in the air, a strange sense of anticipation, like something is about to arrive, but you can't explain what it is. And that's exactly how it begins, not with noise, but with silence. Let me tell you something powerful. Before something enters your life starts making space for it. That's why things have been leaving. People, habits, situations, old versions of you. It might feel like loss, but it's actually preparation, because what's coming cannot fit into the life you had before. And that's why everything feels unstable right now. It's not falling apart, it's rearranging. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people panic in this phase. They try to hold on to what's leaving. They chase what's already gone. They resist the change. And in doing that, they miss what's arriving. Don't make that mistake, because what's approaching you is not something you chase. It's something you align with. And alignment requires one thing most people avoid: letting go. Yes, letting go of who you used to be, what you thought your life would look like, the people who can't grow with you, because where you're going, not everyone can come with you. And that realization, it hurts, but it's necessary. You see, there's a reason you've been feeling different lately. You're not meant to stay where you were. You're not meant to think the way you used to. You're not meant to live a small life. And that's why things are shifting. But here's the part no one talks about. When something powerful is about to enter your life, there is always a period of confusion before clarity. A period where nothing makes sense, where everything feels uncertain, where you question everything. That's where you are right now. And it's not a coincidence, because confusion is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. And right now, you're standing on that bridge. That's why you feel lost, but aware, confused, but awakened, uncertain, but somehow calm. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like everything is changing, but you don't know what yet. That's because what's coming hasn't fully revealed itself, but it's closer than you think. And here's the part you need to understand carefully. Not everyone will recognize it when it arrives, because it won't look the way you expect. It won't come with a label. It won't come with an announcement. It won't come with a clear explanation. It will just appear in the form of a sudden opportunity, a new person, a life-changing decision, or even a situation that feels uncomfortable at first. And if you're not aware, you might miss it. That's why this message matters, because awareness is what separates the chosen from the distracted. Most people are too busy, scrolling, overthinking, chasing validation, living on autopilot. So when something real shows up, they don't even see it. But you're not like most people. You feel deeper. You think differently. You question more. And that's why you were meant to hear this. Because what's approaching you requires awareness. It requires presence. It requires you to trust something that you cannot yet see. And I know that's not easy. Trusting something invisible, believing in something uncertain, moving forward without proof. But that's what makes you different. You don't need proof. You feel truth. And right now, the truth is, something is coming. Not slowly, not eventually, but fast. Faster than you expect. And when it arrives, it won't ask if you're ready. It will simply test if you are. So the real question is not what is coming. The real question is, will you recognize it when it does? Because that moment, that exact moment, will change everything. Chosen ones. The moment before everything changes. There's something most people never realize until it's too late. The biggest shifts in life don't feel powerful at first. They feel uncomfortable. That's why so many people miss them, because they're waiting for something that feels right immediately, something easy, something obvious. But what's approaching you right now, it won't feel like that. It will feel unfamiliar. And the human mind is designed to resist the unfamiliar. That's where the real test begins. Because when this moment arrives, you will have two choices: step into it or step away from it. And here's the truth. Most people step away, not because they're weak, but because they're not aware. They mistake discomfort for danger. They mistake uncertainty for something negative. But you need to understand something very clearly. Growth never feels safe in the beginning. It challenges you. It stretches you. It forces you to think differently. And right now, you're being prepared for something that will require exactly that: a higher level of thinking, a stronger mindset, a deeper awareness. That's why things have been feeling different lately. It's not random. It's training. Yes, training. Life has been quietly preparing you for what's about to arrive. Think about the challenges you've faced recently, the confusion, the emotional ups and downs, the moments where you felt like giving up. Those weren't punishments. They were preparation, because what's coming into your life requires a version of you that is stronger than before. And strength is built in silence. Not when everything is easy, but when everything feels uncertain. That's where you are right now, in between who you were and who you're becoming. And this phase, it's the hardest one, because nothing feels stable, nothing feels clear, nothing feels guaranteed. But let me tell you something powerful. This is the phase where most people quit. They go back to comfort. They go back to old habits. They go back to old versions of themselves, because at least there, they know what to expect. But you didn't come this far to go back. You didn't go through all that growth, all that pain, all that transformation, just to return to who you used to be. No, you're here because you're ready for something more, even if you don't fully realize it yet. And that's why this moment matters, because what's approaching you will not wait forever. Opportunities don't stay open forever. People don't stay in your life forever. Moments don't last forever. They come and then they go, and only those who are aware recognize them in time. Let me give you an example. Imagine this. Something new enters your life. At first it feels small, almost insignificant. Maybe it's a random conversation, a sudden idea, a new connection, a situation you didn't expect, and your first instinct to ignore it because it doesn't look important. It doesn't feel big. It doesn't match your expectations. But here's what most people don't understand. Life-changing moments rarely look life-changing at first. They look ordinary. That's why they're so easy to miss. But if you pay attention, if you stay aware, if you trust your intuition, you'll notice something different, a feeling, a quiet signal inside you, telling you this matters. That's your awareness speaking. And right now, that awareness is stronger than ever. You've probably noticed it. You can sense things more deeply. You can read situations more clearly. You can feel when something is off or when something is right. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. And it's happening for a reason, because what's approaching you will require you to trust that feeling. Not logic, not opinions, not what other people say, but your inner knowing. And that's where most people fail. They doubt themselves. They overthink. They seek validation from others. And in doing that, they disconnect from the one thing that matters most, their intuition. But you're different. You're starting to trust yourself more. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it doesn't make sense, even if no one else understands. And that's exactly what you need right now. Because what's coming won't come with instructions. It won't tell you what to do. It won't explain itself. It will simply appear. and wait for you to respond. And your response? That will determine everything. Not later, not eventually, but in that moment. That's why awareness is everything. Because in that moment, you won't have time to overthink. You'll have to feel and decide and move. And that's where your preparation comes in. Everything you've been through, everything you've learned, everything you've felt, it's all leading to that moment. A single moment that will shift everything. But here's something even deeper. Before that moment arrives, there is always resistance. Yes, resistance. Things may start to feel harder, more confusing, more overwhelming. You might feel doubt, fear, uncertainty, emotional pressure, and you might think, maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. But listen carefully. Resistance often appears right before a breakthrough. It's like a final test, a moment where life asks you, are you really ready? And most people, they fail this test. They step back, they hesitate, they choose comfort over growth, but not you, because you're aware now. You understand what's happening. This isn't random. This isn't chaos. This is positioning. You're being positioned for something greater. And that's why it feels intense, because transformation is never comfortable, but it is always worth it. And here's the most important part of all. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to know exactly what's coming. You don't need to understand every detail. You just need to be ready, to recognize it, to trust it, to move with it. Because when it arrives, it will feel different, not loud, not dramatic, but certain, a deep, undeniable feeling that this matters. And when you feel that, don't ignore it, don't question it, don't delay it, because that moment is the one you've been preparing for. Chosen ones, the arrival that changes everything. There's a moment, a very specific moment, that most people don't recognize until it's gone. It doesn't come with noise. It doesn't come with an announcement. It doesn't come with a clear sign saying, this is it. No, it feels almost ordinary. And that's exactly why it's so powerful, because only the aware ones, only the chosen ones, can recognize it in real time. And that's where you are now, right on the edge of that moment. Everything you've been feeling, everything you've been going through, everything that didn't make sense before, it's all leading here, to this shift, to this arrival. And here's what you need to understand. When it finally happens, it won't wait for you to be ready. It will simply appear and expect you to respond. That's why preparation was never about control. It was about awareness. Because in that moment, you won't have time to analyze everything. You won't have time to ask everyone for advice. You won't have time to go back and forth in your mind. You will feel it, and you will know that quiet certainty inside you. That's what will guide you. And if you trust it, everything changes. But if you ignore it, everything stays the same. That's how powerful this moment is. It's not just another opportunity. It's not just another situation. It's a turning point, a line between the life you've been living and the life you're meant to live. And once you cross that line, there's no going back. Not because you can't, but because you won't want to. Because you'll finally see what was always meant for you. And suddenly, everything will make sense. All the confusion, all the pain, all the waiting, it will connect. Like pieces of a puzzle finally coming together. And you'll realize something that most people never realize. Nothing you went through was wasted. Every delay had a purpose. Every setback had a lesson. Every ending made space for this beginning. And this is where everything shifts. But here's the part you need to hear carefully. When this arrival happens, it may not look perfect. In fact, it might look challenging. It might push you. It might test you. It might require you to step into a version of yourself you've never fully stepped into before. And that's where your final decision comes in. Do you step forward or do you hesitate? Because hesitation is the only thing that can break this moment. Not failure, not fear, but hesitation. That split second where you doubt yourself, that's all it takes. That's why this message found you before it happens. So when that moment comes, you don't hesitate. You move, even if your voice shakes, even if your mind questions it, even if your heart is racing. You move, because movement creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Let me tell you something most people never understand. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you move anyway. And right now, you're being called to move. Not later, not someday, but when it happens. Because that moment will not repeat itself in the same way. Life doesn't keep knocking on the same door forever. It presents, and then it moves on. That's why awareness is your greatest power. Because when you're aware, you don't miss what matters. And right now, you are more aware than you've ever been. That's why you feel different. That's why you think differently. That's why you can't go back to your old self, because you've outgrown it. And what's coming matches who you're becoming, not who you used to be. That's why the old things had to leave. That's why the old connections faded. That's why the old version of you started to feel uncomfortable. It was never meant to stay. It was only meant to prepare you. And now you're ready. Maybe not in the way you expected. Maybe not with complete clarity. Maybe not with zero fear, but ready enough. And that's all you need, because perfection is not required. Presence is. Being present in that moment, that's what matters. Feeling it, recognizing it, moving with it. That's how everything changes. And once it does, there's no confusion anymore. There's direction, there's purpose, there's clarity. Not because everything becomes easy, but because everything becomes aligned. And alignment is more powerful than anything else. Because when you're aligned, things flow, opportunities connect, people appear at the right time, not by accident, but by design. And that's what this moment unlocks, a new level of your life. One where you don't chase, you attract, you don't force, you flow, you don't doubt, you trust. And it all starts with one decision, one moment, one step forward. So when it arrives, and it will, remember this, you don't need permission, you don't need validation, you don't need everything to make perfect sense. You just need to trust what you feel, because that feeling is your signal, and it's been guiding you all along. This isn't the beginning of your journey. It's the moment your journey becomes real. So stay aware, stay ready, stay open, because what's approaching you is not here to test you. It's here to transform you. And when it finally arrives, you won't just recognize it, you'll become it. God is warning you. This person will disturb your peace. If you ignore this, listen carefully, because this is not just another message. This is a moment of interruption, a divine interruption. You didn't click this by accident, and what you're about to hear is not random. Something in your spirit already knows that. There's a shift happening in your life right now, not a small one, a deep one. You may not fully understand it yet, but your awareness has been increasing. You're starting to notice things you ignored before. You're starting to feel energy differently, and most importantly, you're starting to outgrow certain people. Now here's where it gets serious, because every time a person begins to evolve, psychology shows something very interesting. According to behavioral studies, when someone enters a growth phase, they naturally attract two types of people: those who align with their growth, those who are threatened by it. And the dangerous part is, both can look the same at first. That's why this message matters, because there is someone in your life who appears kind, supportive, even caring, but something feels off. You can't explain it logically, but you feel it emotionally. That quiet discomfort, that subtle tension, that's not overthinking. That's awareness. Let me tell you something powerful. Your brain processes emotional danger before your conscious mind understands it. This is backed by neuroscience. The amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, can detect threat signals in milliseconds, even before logic catches up. So when you feel something is not right, you're not being negative, you're being alert. And right now, you are being warned. This person is not in your life by accident. They are connected to a test of your clarity, a test of your boundaries, a test of your growth. At first, they may seem like a blessing. They may admire you, support you, even understand you in ways others didn't. And that's what makes this confusing, because the danger is not obvious. It's subtle. You see, not every person who connects with your light comes to protect it. Some come because they need it. Some come because they want to borrow it. And some come because your light exposes their darkness. Psychology calls this emotional dependency, masking as connection. It happens when someone is drawn to your strength, not because they want to grow, but because they want you to carry them. And at first, it feels like purpose. You feel needed, important, valuable, but slowly, it becomes draining. Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever been around someone who leaves you feeling exhausted, even after a simple conversation? That's not coincidence. That's emotional energy transfer. Studies in emotional psychology show that being around emotionally unstable individuals can increase stress hormones like cortisol in your body within minutes. which means your body is literally reacting to something your mind hasn't fully processed yet. That's why after spending time with certain people, you feel mentally tired, emotionally confused, spiritually disconnected, and yet you keep trying to understand them. You keep trying to help them. You keep giving more than you should because you're not a bad person. You're a compassionate person. But here's the truth you need to hear. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-destruction. And this is where many people lose themselves. They think they are helping, but they are slowly being pulled away from their own purpose. The person you are being warned about may not be evil. Let's be clear. This is not about labeling someone as bad. This is about recognizing misalignment, because sometimes people don't hurt you intentionally. They hurt you because they are broken in ways they haven't healed. And when you step into their life, they don't see you as a partner. They see you as a solution. And that is dangerous, because you were not created to fix someone else's chaos. You were created to fulfill your own purpose. Let that sink in. You cannot build your future while carrying someone else's emotional weight. You cannot grow while constantly being pulled backward. And you cannot find peace in a place that keeps creating confusion. Now listen carefully, because this next part is important. This person may start to show certain patterns, not obvious ones, subtle ones. For example, they may praise you one day and emotionally pressure you the next. They may open up deeply, then create confusion later. They may make you feel special, but also make you feel responsible for their emotions. This creates something called intermittent reinforcement, a psychological pattern used in toxic emotional dynamics. And here's the scary part. It's the same pattern used in gambling addiction, because the unpredictability makes you stay longer. You keep hoping that the good version of them will return, but over time, you start losing yourself. And that's exactly what this warning is trying to prevent. You are entering a new phase of your life, a powerful one, a rare one, a phase where your mindset is changing, your awareness is increasing, your purpose is becoming clearer. And right before breakthroughs, distractions always appear. Not loud distractions, not obvious ones, but emotional ones. Because emotional confusion is one of the fastest ways to delay progress. Think about it. When your mind is constantly thinking about someone, trying to understand them, trying to fix things, trying to maintain peace, you lose focus. And focus is what builds your future. This is why this moment matters. You are not being told to hate anyone. You are not being told to judge. You are being told to observe. Observe how you feel. Observe how your energy shifts. Observe how your peace changes, because peace is your greatest indicator. Let me say that again. Peace is your greatest indicator. When something is right, you feel calm, clear, stable. When something is wrong, you feel tension, confusion, emotional pressure, and your spirit already knows the difference. But many people ignore it. Why? Because emotions get involved, and emotions can be misleading. This is why you must slow down. Not every connection needs to grow deeper. Not every person deserves access to your life. Not every feeling is meant to be followed. Some are meant to be questioned. Right now, you are being given clarity, not to create fear, but to create awareness. Because awareness is protection, and protection is preparation. You are being prepared for something bigger, something that requires emotional stability, mental clarity, spiritual strength, and you cannot carry confusion into your next level. So, if something feels off, don't ignore it. If something feels draining, don't justify it. If something feels misaligned, don't force it, because the cost of ignoring truth is always greater than facing it. And deep down, you already know. This message is not telling you something new. It's confirming something you've been feeling. That quiet voice inside you, that hesitation, that inner pause, that is not doubt. That is awareness. And awareness is your greatest protection right now. The hidden psychological trap. Why you feel pulled toward the wrong person. Pause for a moment, because what you're about to understand might completely change how you see this situation. In part 1, you recognized something, a feeling, a pattern, a quiet discomfort you couldn't explain. Now we're going to uncover why that feeling exists, not emotionally, but psychologically. Because here's the truth most people don't realize. You are not just dealing with a person. You are dealing with a pattern, and patterns are powerful. There is a reason you feel drawn toward this person, even when something feels wrong. This isn't weakness. This isn't foolishness. This is human psychology. Let me explain something that will open your eyes. The brain is not designed to choose what is healthy. It is designed to choose what is familiar. Read that again. So if you have ever experienced emotional inconsistency, being misunderstood, having to prove your worth, giving more than you receive, then your mind has been conditioned to recognize that as normal. And when someone enters your life with similar emotional patterns, even if they are unhealthy, your brain says, "This feels familiar, so it must be right." But familiar does not mean safe. This is where the trap begins. Psychologists call this trauma bonding. It happens when emotional highs and lows create a strong attachment. Let's break it down simply. When they are kind, you feel valued. When they withdraw, you feel anxious. When they return, you feel relief. And this cycle creates addiction, not love, not connection. Addiction, because your brain starts chasing the relief, not the person. And that's why you stay, even when you know something is off, even when your peace is disturbed, even when your energy feels drained. You stay because you're waiting for the good moments to come back. But here's the truth. Healthy relationships don't create emotional roller coasters. They create stability. If you feel more anxious than peaceful, that's not alignment. That's a warning. Now let's go even deeper. There is another reason this person feels so powerful in your life right now. It's called emotional mirroring. At the beginning, they may have seemed perfect. They understood you. They matched your energy. They made you feel seen. And for a moment, you thought, finally, someone who gets me. But what you didn't realize is this. They were not showing you themselves. They were reflecting you. This is a subconscious behavior often used by emotionally unstable individuals. They study your personality, your values, your desires, and then they mirror it back to you. Why? Because it creates instant connection. But here's the danger. A connection built on mirroring cannot be sustained, because eventually their real patterns begin to show. And that's when confusion starts. You begin to ask yourself, why are they changing? What did I do wrong? Why does this feel different now? But the truth is, they didn't change. They just stopped pretending. And now you are seeing the real version. This is why part 1 emphasized observation, because patterns always reveal truth. Now let's talk about something even more important. Why you specifically are vulnerable to this situation. Not everyone gets pulled into this kind of connection, but you did, and there's a reason. You are someone who feels deeply, cares, genuinely supports others, naturally, sees potential in people. In simple words, you have a high emotional intelligence. And while that is a gift, it also comes with a risk, because people who are emotionally unhealed are naturally drawn to those who are emotionally strong, not to grow, but to depend. And this creates a dangerous imbalance. You become the giver. They become the receiver. You become the stable one. They become the unstable one. And slowly, without realizing it, you start carrying the weight of both. Let me ask you something honestly. Do you feel like you are trying to understand them more than they are trying to understand you? That's not balance. That's burden. And burden is not love. Now here's something that will hit deep. You are not responsible for someone else's healing. You can support. You can care. You can encourage. But you cannot fix. Because real change only happens when a person takes responsibility. And if they are not doing that, no amount of your effort will change them. This is where many strong people lose years of their life trying to fix someone who is not ready to fix themselves. And by the time they realize it, they are emotionally exhausted. That's why this message is coming now, not later, not after damage, now. Because you are still at a point where you can choose differently. You can step back. You can observe clearly. You can protect your peace, but only if you stop ignoring the signs. Now let's identify those signs clearly. Signs, you must not ignore one. You feel drained after interactions. Not tired, drained. There's a difference. 2, you feel responsible for their emotions. You start adjusting your behavior just to keep them stable. 3, they create confusion, then act normal. No clarity, no accountability, just cycles. 4, you keep overthinking the connection. Healthy connections don't require constant analysis. 5, you feel peace when you're away from them. This is one of the biggest signs. If distance gives you peace, that connection is not healthy. Now pause and reflect honestly. How many of these signs are you experiencing? Because awareness without honesty is useless. You must be real with yourself, not emotionally attached, not hopeful, not in denial, just real. Because the next part depends on your honesty. You are at a crossroads right now, not physically, but emotionally. You can either continue the pattern or break it, and breaking it requires courage because you will feel guilt, doubt, emotional pull. That's normal because your brain is trying to return to what is familiar. But growth always feels uncomfortable at first, and this is where most people fail. They go back, not because it's right, but because it's easier. But you're not here for easy. You're here for transformation. And transformation requires awareness plus action. Not just understanding, not just listening, but choosing differently. So here's what you need to do now. Your shift starts here. Stop trying to figure them out. Start observing how you feel. Stop explaining their behavior. Start acknowledging the pattern. Stop overgiving. Start protecting your energy. Because your energy is your life force. And where you invest it determines your future. Right now, you are being guided, not controlled, not forced, guided, and the choice is still yours.